Alrighty, I have done my run around of this area for a bit. I hit that button on accident, picking the controller up. But we're all about roughly 17. This group should hit 17 soon enough, so let's continue our journey in thisward direction. Yeah, we should go over there for loot. It's gonna destroy my chain. So you can see how many things I killed over there. I didn't actually spend very much time in there. Despite the chain saying 168, it wasn't very long. There are probably at least 50 enemies in that area, so. Actually, there's probably more than 50 enemies in that area if you actually killed all of them every time they spawned. It may even be close to 100 enemies in that area, but I'm not entirely sure. The reason people are silenced is because I pissed off the N-type by existing, so. And because we did it via casting an ability, or casting a spell, it casts silence on everyone, so. You can, if you aggro the N-type, leave the area and then go, I wish you hadn't silenced Fran, but that's okay. Go a second zone away. There's a lot of traps. And it will reset all of the enemies in that area, so. It's not really a big deal if you aggro the N-type, because you can sort of skirt it, hide it, if you want to say. If you get far enough away, it'll stop chasing you. It'll still be aggressive. It will not go back to neutral unless you reset the enemies in the zone. But it'll stop chasing you, and you can kind of keep an eye on it because you can see it outside of its aggro range because it's a freaking N-type. So it's not too bad. Anyway. Bosch is sleeping. We're gonna leave him there and continue on our journey until he wakes up anyway. We'll walk over here at some point. Also, I should mention, thank you to the people who run the Square Enix Twitter, because I didn't realize that you could hold L1, which is the button to speed up the game, toggle the speed increase. You can hold that and then hit up or down on the D-pad to select your speed. It's actually very nice. I don't have to open the menu to change it. This is very, very good to know. This is an enemy that you don't see terribly often. It's essentially, as you can tell by the fact that I'm nearly dead now, try and heal her up. It is essentially an elite Nam-Yensa. He's an exile. I don't really know why he hangs out with the non-exiled versions, but this is what he looks like. He's bigger, obviously. He not wearing the cloak. He has that weird, strange head, and I don't really know what they're made of, but that's what he looks like. So there you go. We're gonna have to buy some echo herbs. The worst thing he does is cast that water spell. It is very, very, very dangerous. He also has tri-attack, which is rather annoying. Water spell, that's what it is. It's a very, very powerful water spell, and I hate it. He also gets haste, attack up, and defense up, I think. When he reaches critical HP, it's kind of an annoying enemy, but, you know. I'm pretty sure it's a rare spawn. You don't see him. Probably you won't even see it at all, to be honest. You may never see that enemy. I think all the times I've played this game, I think I may have only seen it a few times. It's a lot of cure casts. This is the downside of having so much HP, but no magic potency. So, but you know, the high amount of HP allows us to sort of ignore healing a lot more frequently than if we had lower HP. Lower HP means we'd be forced into critical health a lot faster. So what we're gonna do is, you might notice I have not done anything on the south side of... I hate this map. It's too big. I've not done anything on the south side of this map. What we're going to do is we're going to go through here into the Sandsea over there. We're going to trigger an optional side quest, an unmarked optional side quest. And then we're going to have a very curious series of events, and then we're going to go to the south. The south contains a shop. I actually may go to the south in the process of doing this quest, but the south contains a shop as well as a teleport crystal. So we walk over here, he buggers off in this direction, we can talk to the Moogle. Now, this is entirely optional. You are not required in any way, shape, or form to do this. I would recommend it, especially if you don't have very many ranged party members, but it is entirely optional, so if you don't want to, you can just skip it and not talk to that guy. Or just say you're not interested, or just, when you finish the objective, not go back to the Moogle. There's many ways to ignore this quest. Now, the reason I say you might want to is because of the reward. The reward has absolutely no gil value as far as I'm aware. What it is some berries. I forgot the name exactly of the berries, but you get some berries as a reward for doing... Did we level up? Most of us did. As a reward for doing this little side quest for these guys. The berries themselves are only useful in the one instance, and the one instance is the boss at the end of this area. What they do is severely... I'm pretty sure this is what they do instead of defense, but severely lower the boss's max HP, which obviously makes the fight much easier to accomplish because you don't have to deal with the boss nearly as long. The boss is a flying enemy, which is why I mentioned range, so that kind of limits your options in terms of actually fighting, because physical people or melee range, like most of our party at the moment, cannot hit flying enemies. Which is also why, if you'd forgotten, Vossler has telekinesis, is because of this boss. There is no other case in the game where his telekinesis ability is in any way, shape, or form helpful. Because I don't think you have him in your party at any point. There's a flying enemy. So we're actually gonna sit here and watch, by the way. Just for giggles. Do we get XP if he kills these, I wonder? Let's find out. We don't. Okay, we're not sitting here watching anymore. Anyway, this is our objective. We must defeat this turtle here, the Uraton Eater, who is currently eating the Uraton, as one might expect. It's not a difficult enemy. It does have fire, which is moderately annoying. It's also a turtle with Protect. You could dispel it, but there's really no reason to. Just tank it until it dies. Like all turtle enemies in this game, once it reaches critical health, it gets a defense up, which makes it very annoying to kill at the end of its lifespan. As you can see. That's the only thing it gets. It doesn't get attack or haste or anything. It just gets defense up. So there you go. The Uraton Eater has fallen. So now, we're gonna go to the shop first. Now at this point we've completed our objective, so we would go back to where the Moogle was, up there to the north, and then turn in our quest, essentially. It's not immediately turned in, but it's not a complicated process after this once you kill that thing. But first we're gonna head over here. Apparently gonna fight this thing, which I didn't realize we were aggroing. I didn't want to fight it, but we did. I guess we may as well fight everything. But anyway, I'm going down this way because we are going to sell some of the crap we have, but also purchase some things. Not many things. We're mostly just going to purchase a weapon for Penelo so she actually has something other than a starting dagger. Because white mages actually do decent physical damage. Sandfish, you say? An avian most fell. So let's sell first because we have 99 of these earth stones, because that's mostly what those enemies dropped that we were killing before. They have a rare drop of this magicite, which isn't bad. Bazaar goods. May as well pick this up. Don't need the wooden pole. And he doesn't sell any equipment. I forgot he only sells equipment at the end of this area. I'm an idiot, don't mind me. I want to pick up echo herbs. Let's just get 20 for now. That should be plenty. Eye drops are good. Handkerchiefs we don't need yet. Well, I mean, technically we do, but let's get a few. We'll get 7, so we're at 10. That should be enough. Princess Kiss I don't use very much. This used to be called Alarm Clock, I think, in the original version. I can't quite remember, but it removes sleep. I think it was called Alarm Clock. I don't know really why they translated it to Princess Kiss, but they did. Anyway, that's good enough. Make sure you touch the save crystal so that you have the option to teleport here in the future if you desire. And now, we're going to make our way back to the north. Slowly but surely. Hopefully none of these enemies are back already. They're not. Speed run our way back up here. At 4 times speed, so it doesn't take quite as long. Now all of these enemies will be back because we zoned twice. As I've mentioned before, that's how it works. If you zone twice, it will reset the entire zone that is 2 away. So all of these enemies are back like they should be. Which means all the enemies all the way over here will have to be fought. There's more XP, you know, whatever. It's not a big deal. I won't say no to XP. It does slow down our recording here. How long was the first part of this? 18 minutes? Alright. I'm trying to keep them around 30 to 40 minutes. Some of them are longer. Obviously, there's a few that are shorter. We got hit with Tri-Attack, which causes slow sometimes. But this one we're probably going to end just before the Valley of the Dead, which is the end of this area, essentially, is where we'll end it. Because once we get into the Valley of the Dead, there is a fairly substantial series of events that occur. So this guy, amazing. So he's heading to this Sandsea over here. And all we have to do is essentially just walk slightly into this zone. We don't have to fight anything, we don't have to go anywhere, you just walk over here. Triggers a cutscene, which will show him walking back the way we just came, towards the Moogle. And off he goes. There are a bunch of enemies up here. I want to see if that other enemy respawned. Nope. I'm telling you, man, that one's rare. I have seen it very, very few times, and I have played this game a lot. For better or worse, I guess. A gathering, by God. They do their traditional greeting of roaring at each other and whatever it is they're saying. What's happening, Kupo? Don't do this, the creature would still be at large. So the queen here condemns him to dust, and quite literally condemns him to dust. Doesn't even have to move a muscle, and he literally implodes. And off they go. We haven't actually fought any of those flying fish enemies yet, but there are some in the next area. There's some in the first area as well, but we bypassed all of them by going north instead of south. slow camera pan. So he mentions this flower is rare, interact with it, and we get some XII berries. And those are the berries that will allow us to very, very, somewhat comically easily defeat the boss at the end of this area. So I'll show you a map of this area. I was having trouble zooming. Let's see, this path here, this one, goes to the caverns, I'm pretty sure. Or comes from the caverns, because there's no other way to get there. And this one goes to also the caverns, I think. It's either that or it goes to the plains, the steppe. I can't remember what that area is called. But we're not really going to explore this area much because we will be back here for hunts. Specifically, this area has a hunt in it. There's a few other areas with hunts in them, but we're not going to fully explore most areas as we go through them for the story because we will come back to these areas to do hunts, so it's not really a big deal. Speaking of hunts, I did mention it would be a while before we did hunts again. As you might notice, it's been a while. And a birthday. My apologies. You are correct. We will be doing hunts again when we are done with this segment of the story. It's a fairly long segment. I do apologize for the delay in more hunts. We are going to be over-leveled for quite a few of them, so that is a downside, but you know, it's the other time we could have done a hunt is we could have, instead of coming to the Sandsea, we could have gone back to Rabanastre by going east through the Wester Sand. But we're not going to do that because the story naturally takes us back to Rabanastre when we finish this area, so it's not a big deal. Fran being slowed is a big deal, though. It's pretty good. Pretty good healing we've got there. Excuse me. Slow the game down so I can actually tell what the hell is going on. Alright. Let us continue our journey to thisward direction. Slowly but surely. Speed it up again. These guys are super easy for us to deal with. I don't know what level they are. I think they're level like 13 or 14. I can't remember anymore, even though I literally just saw it. That's okay. I mean, they're still giving us XP. These guys are level 18. We should probably swap some people out. Let's do that. There we go. Get other party members some XP along the way. I could cut a lot of this stuff out, like they're just going through areas fighting things, but I don't think I will. What's that? Oh, it's a rare enemy. This is a different bomb. So there's 2 rare bomb enemies in this place. That's interesting. It probably has self-destruct. It has protect. That's kind of annoying. Well, if it does have self-destruct, it's not using it, so. 3 LP, not bad. Anyway, but if it's the first time through an area, and, you know, we're just killing things along the way, I'm not gonna cut that stuff out, but I will cut out, obviously like I did earlier, I will cut out any times where I'm just running through an area repeatedly to do the same thing and kill a bunch of enemies and get some XP and stuff. Natural leveling going through an area like this for the first time, not gonna cut out generally then. Let's continue our journey. We're almost there. There is a shop right at the end of this area. It doesn't tell you on the map, but you know, it's alright. We don't need the map's help. We got this all on our own. We'll speed it up again. For the most part, Gambits will be handling combat unless it's a boss fight or something like that. So much of the game will be played sped up. On the plus side, this does increase the speed at which we can get through the game, so. More of the videos will be story instead of combat stuff like this because it can just speed up the combat, so it's not a big deal. Anyway, here's our shop. It's the same people we just talked to. The shining bird will peck at your bones. So the Avion there is said to be invincible, not true. But it has a weakness. I'm sure the Nam-Yensa knows something. The Sandsea is theirs. So they point to the Nam-Yensa, mention they can't speak our tongue, but we've already done that and gained access to the item in question. There we go. I was trying to get to the sell menu. I was having some technical difficulties. Also having technical difficulties selling things, apparently. That's alright. New Bazaar goods. Tail of the Phoenix. 2 Phoenix Downs. For cheaper than the cost of 2 Phoenix Downs. So, this is going to cost a lot of gil, but we are going to purchase, at the very least, new weapons for everyone. Now, you might notice I just purchased a sword, and that was accidental. I did not mean to. The reason I did not mean to is because there's a fairly high chance we're going to get a better sword soon anyway. Do we want a healing rod? Not really. Because it's on hit regen, but there's no other rod for her to use right now. Do you want to give her that? Yeah, we'll buy it. We're gonna have to do some real weird gambits to actually make that useful. On the downside, it does mean she cannot attack enemies anymore, so it's gonna be a little bit weird because she gets MP back for attacking enemies, but it's only temporary. Because we will soon have access to a different rod for her to use that doesn't have an on-hit regen sort of thing. Do I want new equipment? No, not really. Yeah, none of that yet. We have new accessories we can purchase if we so desire. I don't want to. I'd recommend you have some twirling rings though, for safety purposes soon. What about this? We'll take Cura. We'll take Arrow. We're not going to take Stop or any of the rest of that, I don't think, though. We may as well pick up Libra as well. And we will use Poach at some point, but not quite yet. Her, she has worse stats. And it wants you to re-equip the dagger. But we, however, do not. What we do want to do is take this off, because having her attack the enemy will cause regen to be put on the enemy, which is not very good. Now, I think the best way we can do this setup is to have her... If an ally is less than, say... How do we want to do this? Less than 90 feels like it's too high and she'll do it too much. Set it to less than 80 and then we'll change her cure to less than 50. And we may as well set it to Cura, why not? So you might notice she is completely incapable of doing damage. This is true. She's going to beat people though. Oh, you know what? I can't do that because that'll actually kill them slowly. As you can see. It's a pretty good system she's got set up. Anyway, that'll actually kill him eventually. So how do we set this up? Ally lowest HP will literally kill them as well. I know there's a way to set this up with gambits, but I don't remember how. I mean, what you could do, theoretically, is I could just do this instead. But then They'll prioritize healing over attack if I do this. If I do this, they'll attack. But then they'll never get to the heal step, and it's kind of rather annoying. There's some way to do this, and I don't remember. That will never trigger if I do that. There needs to be like a 65% threshold. Hey, whatever. Whatever, man. I could have her manually do it. Really not necessarily worth it at this point, but we'll see. Anyway, that's going to be the end of this video here. I think it's a bit longer than intended, but next time we're going to head into the Valley of the Dead and see what's going on in there. Thanks for watching. See you then.